dreams, what we doing today? Lord, take these shackles on my feet, I ain't running away. Young niggas on the block, all they want is a name. I've been searching for my way out, I know better days. Okay, I'm trying to get rich, put my partners on the payroll. We was serving fiends, got me one day to day go. Bustin' on the block, I've been dodging all these halos. Keep a 4-5, I can't let no nigga take so. Sitting at the bottom, I've been waiting on the top floor. Lord, you brought me in, can you show me where to not go? Running through the city, got me feeling like a thought whore. And I'm in the fast lane, I'm trying to get my shot more. No, I ain't never letting go. They thought I fell off, I've been working on the low. No, I ain't never letting go. Got the devil on my shoulder, I can't let him take control. Got big dreams, what we doing today? Lord, take these shackles on my feet, I ain't running away. Young niggas on the block, all they want is a name. I've been searching for my way out, I know better days. Yeah, Lord, take these shackles off my feet. I was trying to find myself, and you brought me to the beat. I was thugging in the streets, selling to the next man. Knew that I was destined, I just need a blessing. And all the money in the world can't save your soul. You in the hood every day, man, that shit get old, yeah. Got bigger dreams, got bigger goals. All I need is the signs and the code. Got big dreams, what we doing today? Lord, take these shackles off my feet, I ain't running away. Young niggas on the block, all they want is a name. I've been searching for my way out, I know better days, yeah. Lord, take these shackles off my feet. I was trying to find myself, and you brought me to the beat. I was thugging in the streets, up to the next man. Knew that I was destined, I just need a blessing. And all the money in the world can't save so. You in the hood every day, man, that shit get off. Got bigger dreams, got bigger goals. All I need is the signs and the codes. Got big dreams, what we doing today? Lord, take these shackles on my feet, I ain't running away. Young niggas on the block, all they want is a name. I've been searching for my way out, I know better days.
What's up, everybody? I first have to shout out my bro that did that song. Let me give you the name of it. It is called Better Days, and it was created by Knowledge Uprising. Please go support. He's doing a lot of different songs on, I guess, AI. I'm not quite sure. I think it is. But he's been working and grinding very, very hard to bring out different types of music. And I like the lyrics in that song. That's why I chose that song of Better Days. We're all trying to figure out how to get better days, how to keep our head up above the water, how to survive in these very hard and trying times that we are facing. And let me show you his channel for you guys to see what he has. He has about 684. He's trying to get to 1,000 subscriptions. This is his channel right here. For those that don't know, please go check him out. Support him. He's a really good brother. I've been on this platform before, and he is doing phenomenal music. So I want to support Today we're going to talk about Trump, but I'm not going to stay long on him. I'm going to review some of the questions, I guess, that he took, and review what he had to say. Pretty much, I'm going to keep up with Trump a little bit, but I'm not going to stay on him as I have been for the last 4 or 5 months. I really have been taken aback by what he did as far as making up the storyline of genocide of the Afrikaners. I can't let that go personally. Him having a video that he showed, or pictures that he was showing rather, of a genocide happening actually in the Congo, and him trying to say that that was the Afrikaners being genocide in South Africa. He has not corrected that storyline. I don't see that he would. He's just going to do whatever he feels fit on doing. I don't go and follow behind nobody blindly. So even though I'm still hoping that he's going to be a decent president because he's not going to leave, I'm kind of having my eyes now more to the side with him. I'm going to try to be transparent about anything that I feel about Trump moving forward, because, he is, in my opinion, kind of doing too much. But, it is what it is. And then after I showcase the video about Trump, we're going to get into a really big and deep conversation about HIV. I want to now do these videos pertaining to HIV every 4 months. I really feel like this conversation needs to be brought up more. There is really a real bad outbreak of HIV going on throughout the world, and it is affecting many different types of communities. Everybody's affected. No one is not tarnished or stained with the infection of HIV. I see that a lot of people are not caring about who they infect. Once they find out that they have HIV, they are reckless on purpose. And we as Americans, or anyone, should really get up on what is happening in circles around you with this HIV. And I feel like the only way that we can curb it is by information and knowledge on what's going on. And also to reset and get standards in your life. If you do not know what standards are, hopefully you will get the gist of that throughout this video. Personally, I had been dealing with anxiety, taking the test for many years. I'll get into that a little bit later, what happened and why. But I conquered that phobia and anxiety by taking the test 3-4 months ago. But I do understand that a lot of people don't want to know, or they don't want to get tested, but it is spreading everywhere. And a lot of people have this nonchalant attitude about dating, about having sex, about getting clapped up, and all these different things that people are saying on social media as if it's funny and cute to be loose and lustful. And people are paying a big price by catching HIV and other diseases, and they're spreading it on purpose. They don't give a damn once they get it. And I really want to reiterate that we have to take accountability and try to get other people to think on accountability and standards and caring about yourself, loving your health, wanting to protect yourself, because others will not do it for you. They definitely won't. So I will be showing various stories that are going on about HIV. I hope to influence people to get tested. And I hope that once you find out your status, whether it's HIV or not, that you stay responsible. and considerate of other people around you. So now let's get to the first video. It's going to be fair use of all videos that I show under the Copyright Act of 1976 for education, commentary, research, information, entertainment, all the above, not meaning to impose, but to inform and enlighten on what is going on with Trump and also HIV today in this strain. If you guys could, please do me a favor by liking and sharing and subscribing to the channel. I wish that more people would talk about HIV on their platform. I see that there are people that are getting more videos out than usual because of the influx of cases that are all over the place and all the people that are tricking others into getting HIV. And so it is really important that we get this awareness out there and that people feel comfortable to talk about it, because it is really a hard discussion to have, and people are steering clear of having that discussion, which is creating the environment to spread the disease that you want not get. So let's get now to the first video. Let me get to that. And this is about Trump, first and foremost, answering questions on the Russia-Ukraine war, also Doge. He has done a few things extra that I will bring up in this live about him, but we are going to really get into the HIV conversation. So I hope that you guys will stick around and learn what you need to know about the topic. Let's go. What's up, Charles Harvey? Thank you for coming through, and everybody that's in the clouds, please hit the like and let's go.
Mr. President, on Russia, Mr. President, do you believe the Russians are being disrespectful when they say that your criticisms of Putin are simply an emotional response? And do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not. And if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently, but it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, is doing a phenomenal job, is dealing with them very strongly right now. They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you. Nobody can. I can say this, that I'm very disappointed at what happened a couple of nights now, where people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. I'm very disappointed by that. Very, very disappointed. Yeah, please.
You've called for an end to the Gaza war. Given the growing humanitarian crisis and the decision of Prime Minister Netanyahu to expand the military operation, do you have any frustration with his handling of the situation of the war?
No, we're dealing with the whole situation in Gaza. We're getting food to the people of Gaza. It's been a very nasty situation, very nasty fight. October 7th was a very nasty day, the worst that I think I've ever seen. It was a horrible day, and people aren't going to forget that either. So we'll see how that all works out. And Steve, would you want to say a couple of words about Gaza, because you just have some information? Steve Witkoff, do you want to come up for a second? You might give them a little bit of information as to what's happening with Gaza and also Israel. We're having some very good talks with Iran. We'll find out whether that means anything, but we're having good talks. Congratulations.
Well, hi everybody. I think that we are on the precipice of sending out a new term sheet that hopefully will be delivered later on today. The president is going to review it, and I have some very good feelings about getting to a long-term resolution, temporary ceasefire, and a long-term resolution, a peaceful resolution of that conflict.
Mr. President, you said having to do with Iran. We're having very good talks.
Mr. President, you said yesterday that Putin is playing with fire. What will be the consequences for Russia if he continues to,
Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly, but the words speak pretty loud. We're not happy about that situation. I think we're doing very well with Iran. We're doing very well with Gaza, but we are doing very well with Iran, and I think we're going to see something very sensible, because there are only two outcomes. You know what the two outcomes is: a smart outcome and there's a violent outcome, and I don't think anybody wants to see the second. But I think we've made a lot of progress, and we'll see. They still have to agree to the final stages of a document, but I think you could be very well surprised what happens there. And
So for those that don't know, about 4 days ago, Russia hit Ukraine again with the largest aerial attack in war so far. I'm going to play a real quick clip of that. It's going to be interesting how Trump handles Putin, who does not look like and act like he's going to stop doing what he's doing. So he's not real serious about stopping war. Let me see, where was that at? I'm going to find a quick little video. So Trump has to deal with that. And I don't believe Putin is really trying to be serious about stopping, but let's look at this real quick.
Let's begin this morning with a massive, deadly Russian attack on Ukraine overnight. It is the largest aerial assault there since the war began more than 3 years ago. NBC's Matt Bradley has new details. Matt, what's the latest?
Yeah, Willie, it's like you said, it's being called Russia's largest aerial bombardment against Ukraine ever since this war started 3 years ago. Russia launched about 367 missiles and drones at about 30 villages and cities in Ukraine over the past day, including the capital. Now, the death toll currently stands at least 12 people, including 3 children, with about hundreds more who have been injured. And this follows on from last night when at least 4 people had been killed, also in strikes by the Russians. Now, Russia itself also said that the Ukrainians had attacked them with about 100 drones over the past 24 hours. Now, all of this happens as efforts to end the war have stalled. Now, President Trump had said that he was hoping to end the war, but he has been more lenient than his predecessor, and that might be one of the reasons why we heard from President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. He appealed to President Trump on social media, saying that the silence of President Trump and the silence of people throughout the world is only encouraging Putin. Now, European and Ukrainian leaders have been encouraging Russia to sign on to a 30-day ceasefire, but there has been some diplomatic progress, Willie. Actually, Russia and Ukraine are in the 3rd day of a 3-day huge prisoner exchange that, despite this sprawling bombardment, actually went ahead this morning. Willie?
These are civilian targets.
So that's the latest in regards to the Russia conflict in Ukraine. So let's get back to Trump to listen more to what questions he's having to answer. And I have not listened to this conference at all, so I'm doing a reaction to it and also including news clips, if I can, on what he says. Let's go.
it'd be a great thing for them. They could have a great country into the future. Yeah.
Mr. President, Elon Musk in a television interview criticized the one big, beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed it didn't cut enough, essentially, that it undercut the DOGE efforts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the reaction's a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting. We need to get a lot of support, and we have a lot of support. We had to get it through the House. The House was. We have no Democrats. If it's up to the Democrats, they'll take the 65% increase. If that doesn't get approved, this country is going to have a 65% increase in taxes and lots of other problems, big problems, almost bigger than that. But we'll have a 65% increase as opposed to the largest tax cut in the history of our country. We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill, but the beautiful is because of all of the things we have. The biggest thing being, I would say, the level of tax cutting that we're going to be doing. We're going to make people really be able to. We'll have the lowest tax rate we've ever had in the history of our country, and tremendous amounts of benefit are going to the middle-income people of our country, low and middle-income people of our country. So we're going to see what happens, because the Senate, as you know, is negotiating with us, and they have to then go back to the House, and it's got a way to go. But I have to say, Speaker Johnson and Thune have done an incredible job. John Thune has done a fantastic leader. Thune, a fantastic job, and they're working together with me and others. And I think we have an amazing, if we pull this off, remember we have 0 Democrat votes because they're bad people. There's something wrong with them. You know, they'll let people pour into our country. Single biggest problem is we had 21 million people pour into our country, probably higher than that. And they're people that weren't supposed to be here. And many of those people are bad. Murderers, drug dealers, the mentally insane. They were closing mental institutions all over the world, not South America, all over the world. They're coming into our country and we're getting them out. But we're having a hard time because some judges aren't making it very easy for us. And it's tough enough. And they approved that. They allowed that to happen to our country. We don't have one Democrat vote. And if I were a Democrat, I'd be voting for this bill and I'd get elected to any position I want as a Democrat. They're crazy. They're voting for a 65% tax increase. And they're only doing it for hatred. They're not doing it for any reason. They know it's terrible. Terrible politics, in my opinion. But so we have no Democrat votes. That means we have to get almost all Republican votes. And I think we're very close to doing that. I think it'll be very successful. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on the tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, I chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I said down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country, and because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me. He said, we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number, and I go down a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever. And they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me, that's the nastiest question.
I mean, I don't think that Trump's being chicken. I think that he's being strategic. I think that he basically is getting them to go in the direction that he would like by maneuvering in which he's doing. So, no, he's not a chicken. I would not say that. Let me see what you're saying. G says, well, Trump did say he wants 3,000 people deported every day. It might increase. I definitely know that he means what he says when it comes to these deportations. I know that some people are going to get charged for from ICE. There has been news reports on that. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but they're charging people from ICE now that are undocumented. This one lady, for instance, like 13 days ago, was being charged by ICE $1.82 million. So they are not effing around. So for those that are here illegally, I think it's best that you tap out because Trump is coming, blazing with the guns to deport as many people as he can find. And it's not safe for people such as students with these visas, people are warning that people that have these visas that are students, they should not leave, because when they come back, they're going to have problems. So take a look at this news clip real quick.
An undocumented woman living here in South Florida is being told that she has to pay nearly $2 million for failing to leave the country. Good evening, I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Lauren Pastrana. The mother of three was given 30 days to pay. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor joins us live from Northwest Miami-Dade with the exclusive. Yvonne?
Yes, Elliot and Lauren, and this mother of three teenagers has told me that she chose to share her story and show her face because she wants people to know that she's not a criminal. Now, her attorney shared the story with CBS News because she wants the whole country to know why she's mother has been fined $500 a day for overstaying in the U.S. since 2005. And that's not all. We just talked to her a few minutes ago, and this is what this mom told us. Ever since that day, I live with anxiety. I can't sleep. I don't feel well. This woman, who we will call Maria, says she did not want to use her real name, concerned she could be targeted. But she does want people to know her story. She told us, I don't want to go back. She's a mother of three children who are American.
Of course, she doesn't want to go back, but it is a different time and place in America, and Trump, he's kept his word as far as these illegals come, or as far as they go, and he is not playing around. So I just wanted to show that real quick, and let's get back to Trump answering these questions. If you guys have any comments, please leave it in the chat. Tell me how you feel. Let me get back to this. Fair use of all videos, by the way. Let's go.
Go ahead, please.
President Zelensky says he's ready to sit down with you and Vladimir Putin in Geneva, and it sounds like General Kellogg is working on preparations for that. Are you planning to sit down with the two of them?
Well, I will if it's necessary. You know, we have to. I think at this point. I wish it would have been that way a couple of months ago, but at this point, we're working on President Putin, and we'll see where we are. I think we're doing fine, but we'll see. I don't like what's happening. That's one thing I'll say. I don't like when I see rockets being shot into cities. That's no good. We're not going to allow it.
Well, he said that the war never would have started if you were.
Would have never happened, and it didn't happen.
He doesn't seem willing to do anything that you want him to do. Do you still believe that he wouldn't have launched the war?
No, we would have never had a war. We would have never had a war. If I were president, the election weren't rigged, you wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had the war, you wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had October 7th. That would have never happened because Iran was stone cold broke. They didn't have any money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah. You wouldn't have had that Afghanistan most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have had inflation because energy costs. Look what happened. I brought inflation down to practically zero. And all of the groceries and all of the eggs and all of the things that you've been hearing about, they're back down. They're way down from where they were. I did something in 4 months that nobody's seen. And I have to say, in 4 months, and I said it before, and everyone's talking about it all over the world, we've got the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. We're the only country anybody's even talking about. All right, please go ahead.
What stopped you from imposing new sanctions on Russia?
Only the fact that if I think I'm close to getting a deal, I don't want to screw it up by doing that. Let me tell you, I'm a lot tougher than the people you're talking about, but you have to know when to use that. If I think it's going to hurt a deal, this isn't my war. This is Biden's war, Zelensky's war, and Putin's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm only here for one thing, to see if I can end it, to save 5,000 lives a week and a lot of money. The money being much less important, because I made that money. I went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, and we brought back $5.1 trillion. So I made that money in about 2 hours, the money we were talking about, but it's still think of it, $300 billion we've spent. With no checks, no balances, they just send cash. You can imagine what's happened to that money. I never saw anything like it in my life, but I'm more interested because picked up $5.1 trillion, and by the way, got a beautiful, big, magnificent, free airplane for the United States Air Force, okay? Very proud of that, too. They tried to say, oh, it's Trump's airplane. Oh, yeah, sure. It's too big. Frankly, it's too big, much too big.
When can we expect that to be the Air Force One?
Well, it's here already.
Yeah.
It's in the country. It's being refitted for military standard.
How much will it cost to refit it?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever it is, a hell of a lot less than building a new one. We're waiting too long from Boeing. Boeing has got to get its act together. Yeah.
Sir, on Nippon Steel, this arrangement that was just announced with
Yeah.
Golden Share, is that an arrangement you would consider for TikTok as well?
Nothing to do with TikTok. Totally different kind of a deal. We'll have to get, to do it properly, we'll probably have to get China's approval. China's never easy. China's never easy. But I think we'll be able to save TikTok. I'd like to save TikTok. I mean, TikTok was very good to me. I won the young people by 37%. No Republicans ever won, and I won by 37%. And Charlie Kirk will tell you TikTok helped. But Charlie Kirk helped also. He just happens to be here. Look at it. He loves that we mentioned that name, right, Charlie? He's done great, and I appreciate all the help. But with young people, we won by 37%, Charlie, and you helped. But TikTok was amazing. And he was the first one. He said, get on TikTok. So I have a little bit of a warm spot. I know I shouldn't. They'll say, quid pro quo. Put him in jail for the rest of his life. Quid pro quo. Now, TikTok was very good to me. I won young people. I don't know if it was because of TikTok, but it was something happened. No Republican has ever won they call them young people. Young people, you can define it a lot of different ways, but I won every age group in young people. And it never happened, and won by 37%. That's a lot. Yeah.
Back in Iran, did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please. I did, yeah.
Senate Republicans want to
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him?
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now. Because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong where we can go in with inspectors. We can take whatever we want. We can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up a lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment. It could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal, and if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.
When do you think the deal could happen on Iran?
On which?
The deal with Iran.
Oh, I don't know. I think over the next couple of weeks if it happens. Yeah.
When could the administration resume the interviews for foreign students visa? When do you think your administration could resume these interviews?
On what?
For the foreign student visa. Yesterday there was...
For the French visa?
For the French, all the foreign students.
Oh, for the foreign visas? What are you referring? Foreign visas? What? Are you talking about for colleges? Okay, so you're off of Israel. Now you're talking about colleges, right? Okay. Well, we're going to see. Look, Harvard has been a disaster. They've taken $5 billion plus. $5 billion. Nobody knew that they were making this kind. If we didn't do this, we would have never found this out, Pam. They're taking $5 billion. And I'd rather see that money go to trade schools. And by the way, they're totally anti-Semitic at Harvard, as you know, and some other colleges too, in all fairness to them. And it's been exposed, very exposed. And I think they're dealing very badly. Every time they fight, they lose another $250 million. Yesterday we found another $100 million. And they have a fund, an endowment, $52 billion. All right? They get a lot of that from the United States. And I think it's ridiculous. I think everyone's coming up to me saying, we love the idea of trade schools with that kind of money, and money from others, but money from them. You can have the best trade schools anywhere in the world. You give them to Iowa, Indiana, lots of good states, well-run states, and you give them the money. They can only be used for trade schools, and they'll teach people how to build motors and cars and AI. You know, the AI, we're building plants, we're building hundreds of billions of dollars worth of AI plants, already started, many of them. We've never had a boom like we're having now. You're going to see it. There's never been anything like it. So we're up to about $14 trillion in investments. There's never been anything even close. You look at Biden, this guy, they had people leaving as opposed to investing. And they're doing it because of November 5th, and they're doing it because of the tariffs. The tariffs have been tremendous. I can promise you, and I have great respect for the people at the European Union, they wouldn't be over here today negotiating if I didn't put a 50% tariff on. The sad thing is now when I make a deal with them, it's something much more reasonable. They'll say, oh, he was chicken. That's so unbelievable. I usually have the opposite problem. They say, you're too tough.
Mr. President, on Harvard, there were some Jewish students protesting on campus yesterday. They said they don't want you making these huge cuts, cutting off student visas to Harvard in their name. Because
Harvard has to show us. Okay, Harvard has to show us their lists. They have foreign students. About 31% of their students are foreign-based, almost 31%. We want to know where those students come. Are they troublemakers? What countries do they come? And we're not going to, if somebody is coming from a certain country and they're 100% fine, which I hope most of them are, but many of them won't be, you're going to see some very radical people. They're taking people from areas of the world that are very radicalized, and we don't want them making trouble in our country. So I saw yesterday that in the middle of the UK, there was a nice young man. He wants to go back to school at Harvard, and he looked it to me, but I want to check his pass. But we want to be able to see why, these countries aren't helping us. They're not investing in Harvard and all of we are. So why would 31%? Why would a number so big? I think, number one, I think they should have a cap of maybe around 15%, not 31%. We have people want to go to Harvard and other schools. They can't get in because we have foreign students there. But I want to make sure that the foreign students are people that can love our country. We don't want to see shopping centers exploding.
I'm glad that he's doing that. As far as these students, I think that a lot of people have been getting a carefree environment to do whatever they want to do, and Trump is making it harder for them to do that. So I support that part of him and Harvard and other things that he's doing with the deportations and everything like that. How do y'all feel about it? Also, for those that don't know, Kash Patel, the FBI director, is going to supposedly go to Memphis and set up shop with a task force to get some of the criminality down. So for those that are a part of crime, doing too much, just be wary that this FBI director, Kash Patel, is coming to the neighborhoods near you. If you are a part of that lifestyle, you might want to stop if you can avoid it by now. Anyways, let's get back to this. It's almost over, and we're going to, continue on with the conversation after this video is over regarding HIV. So let's go.
We don't want to see the kind of riots that you had. And I'll tell you what, many of those students didn't go anywhere. Many of those students were troublemakers caused by the radical left lunatics in this country. One more question.
President,
go ahead, please.
Will you pardon the people who are accused of conspiring to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer?
I'm going to look at it. I will take a look at it. It's been brought to my attention. I did watch the trial. It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job. I'll be honest with you. It looked to me like some people said some stupid things. They were drinking, and I think they said stupid things. But I'll take a look at that. And a lot of people are asking me that question from both sides, actually. A lot of people think they got railroaded. A lot of people think they got railroaded. And probably some people don't. One more. Go ahead.
How will the confrontation at Harvard end? We'll see.
I don't know. I don't know. Harvard's got to behave themselves. Harvard is treating our country with great disrespect. and all they're doing is getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. They've got to behave themselves. You know, I'm looking out for the country and for Harvard. I want Harvard to do well. I want Harvard to be great again, probably, because how can it be great? How can it be great when you have Harvard announced 2 weeks ago that they're going to teach remedial mathematics, remedial, meaning they're going to teach low-grade mathematics, like 2 + 2 is 4. How did these people get into Harvard if they can't do basic mathematics? How did they do it? I mean, people with 1,600 in their boards don't get in, and they're letting people in, and they're bragging about how they're teaching them basic mathematics. Where did these people come from? So we have to look at the list, and Harvard has to understand the last thing I want to do is hurt them. They're hurting themselves. They're fighting. You know, Columbia has been really, they were very, very bad what they've done. They're very anti-Semitic and lots of other things. But they're working with us on finding a solution. And, you know, they're taking off that hot seat. But Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are. And they're getting their ass kicked. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so on a good note, well, for those that like the rapper NBA Youngboy, President Trump has decided to pardon this rapper. And also he pardoned a OG, ex-gang, Chicago gang kingpin, Larry Hoover. So for those that are appreciative of that, I guess it's good news. I'm not quite sure if it's really the type of people that I would want pardoned necessarily, but let's look at this clip of those of young NBA and see a picture of him so you guys know who he is. But yeah, he got off. He's getting off.
A Louisiana rapper has received a pardon from President Trump. Kentrell Golden goes by NBA Young.
Just in case that is going to copyright, I'm going to stop that right there. But that is the rapper. That's from Inside Edition. He's getting pardoned. And also the kingpin, Larry Hoover, is going to get commuted by Trump. I think that he is not totally off because the state is still charging him. So let's take a look at this. But those that like or love this particular guy, he's getting his sentence commuted.
We've been working to get more information on breaking news tonight concerning former Chicago gang leader Larry Hoover. President Trump commuted his sentence earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, this really came as quite a surprise today and raises a lot of questions, including why now and also what comes next for Hoover. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy is here taking a much closer look at this. Chuck?
Stephen Allison, President Trump tonight cutting loose Larry Hoover from multiple life sentences. Federal law enforcement officials say Hoover was and is atop the notorious gangster Disciples, calling the shots, literally. In the 80s and 90s, his gang earning more than $100 million a year from cocaine and heroin, much of the profit, they said, straight into Hoover family members' pockets. Tonight, Hoover and his family celebrating a victory that once seemed impossible.
Very important for me to get Hoover out because in an alternate universe, I am him.
Celebrity lobbyist Kanye West in the Oval Office urging President Trump to grant the Chicago gang bosses freedom. This meeting during the president's first term, an indicator of just how long this free Hoover effort has been underway. Tonight, 7 years later, comes commutation from the president. The former gangster disciple leader known as King Larry will be released from the Supermax prison here in Colorado, home of the nation's most dangerous criminals, where Hoover has been serving multiple life sentences for operating a drug gang enterprise that enforced deals and rules at the barrel of a gun. I spoke about the commutation with former Assistant U.S. Attorney Ron Safer, who was lead federal prosecutor on the Chicago case against Larry Hoover.
All he had to do was order a shooting, and it was done. Order a beating, and it was done. Order a drug area to be controlled or attacked, and it was done.
So as the man who led the federal prosecution of somebody who had that kind of power, how could any amount of time locked up be enough?
It's difficult, Chuck, to say that there's any amount of time to this crime. This man was the undisputed leader of the largest monolithic gang that this nation has ever known. The gang had at its peak 30,000 members in 28 states.
And so tonight, Larry Hoover's supporters wait to see the reverse of this video. The last time Hoover was incarcerated in Illinois nearly 3 decades ago, being turned over to federal authorities. When Hoover is turned back to state authorities here, he will also go back into state prison, where he is to resume a 200-year sentence for murdering a gang rival in 1973. That, however, is a case in which he's eligible for parole, so it may just be a matter of time before Larry Hoover is indeed back on the streets that no one expected him ever to walk again. How quickly that happens depends.
It sounds like it's. Oh, hold on. Let me play the rest of that. Sounds like he's not really getting out. It's just a gesture. But let's listen to the rest of this real quick.
How quickly that happens depends on how fast the 74-year-old Hoover can get a parole hearing on his state of Illinois convictions, and whether Governor Pritzker might serve up a commutation as President Trump did today. No, the governor's office has not responded to NBC Chicago regarding that possibility. We'll wait and see.
Okay, that concludes Trump in this particular live. I just wanted to touch a little bit about what he's talking on, but the real important topic that I'm going to start is about HIV spreading wild. It is so crazy if you input HIV horror stories or HIV reoccurrence or outbreak or anything, you're going to have a whole host of videos that come up about it. And I'm seeing more and more people that are purposely handing out HIV, tricking people, going on apps, going on dating sites, going to the clubs, even in cases of getting married with the knowledge that you are HIV positive and purposely laying down unprotected and causing death. There was a story just about 3 weeks ago. I saw an older black lady got married to this black guy, this black man. He knew years before he was HIV positive, and he linked up with her. She ended up having cancer issues. She beat it. But what came back after she beat the cancer, she was full-fledged AIDS and died due to not knowing. And this guy purposely got with her so that he would not be alone, purposely got with her so that he could have somebody take care of him, knowing he was handing out the disease to her. He didn't have no qualms. He didn't have no consideration. He didn't have no concern. And this is the part that I'm really enraged about. And I really want to reemphasize for those that are dating, you need to really think about what you're doing out here, because people are lining you up on purpose. Before I got on live, I saw a video that I didn't see previous to looking up, and I want to go through that story. But let me give you a little history. About 20 years ago, maybe more than that, I believe the year was 94, 95. I was dating in an alternative lifestyle, and we got into it after 3 months of me being in California. Got into an altercation, and this brother of this lady that I was dating burst into the door that was locked. He was bleeding from his hand, and we commenced to wrestling. And I did not know at the time that he was HIV positive. When I found out a couple of weeks later, of course, I was scared because I didn't know if any of his blood got in me. And I had this phobia for years before I got tested, probably 2 to 3 years. And the reason why I got tested is because I was dating someone that demanded that we go get tested. And even though I was reluctant and scared and paranoid, I went. I didn't have any symptoms. I wasn't thinking I had it, but I didn't know. Because at the time, HIV was spreading. This was the 90, 94, 95 time. It was everywhere. People were dropping off like flies. I would go to this gay club. I would see people dancing and having a good time, dating and carrying on. And maybe a month or two later, these people would disappear. And then when I would see them a month or 2 or 3 months later or whatever, they would come back really skinny. They would look all frail. They were dying. I would hear stories of people getting sick all over the place. It really had me in a chokehold. Thank God I didn't catch it when I got tested. But I'm telling you, from my experience, it is very easy to get a phobia behind HIV. And I believe a lot of people have phobias or anxiety. They don't want to know. They don't care to know, and on and on and on. And you now have to be the person that protects your life, because people are really not caring about what and how they treat you. And so I'm going to showcase a few stories. I might have to extend more information on HIV on my next live coming up Sunday, because, you know, I want to really get into this first story. But it is up to us as a collective to stop the spread. Stop the spread. If you are reckless and careless and lustful to the point of no return, like you have the demon on you that you cannot get off of, being overly sexualized, you might want to take a look at the videos that I'm going to show and change your behavior. It does not make sense to be out here just having sex, one-night stands, and meeting up with people you do not know and taking these risks that people are willingly taking. This is 2025. HIV has been, the first case that I read on was back in 1959, starting in the Congo. The first case that was defined as HIV was in 1981. And here we are after all these years, people are spreading it. It's everywhere. It's in Philadelphia, like 18,000 cases. It's like 200,000 cases in Texas. The passport bros are catching HIV in the DR and other places and bringing it back to the United States. Of course, these men who claim to not like Black American women are trying to hook up with Black women once they get back, because they want to spread it. So y'all need to be mindful about how devious and diabolical people are behaving on purpose to harm as many as they can take out, because they feel like they are harmed too. And we need to understand that this is the time where you're getting got if you're not on your best, on your P's and Q's and protecting yourself. So I want to start off with this first video. This is a YouTuber. I just literally found her video maybe minutes before I came live. And I was like, well, you know what? I have not seen that video, so let me do a reaction. It's a true story. It comes from Royalties Love is her YouTuber name. Very attractive young lady. She's got to be in her 20s. It's really, really sad. But what I appreciate is some of the people that are disclosing their status and they're sharing their tales about how they got caught up to enlighten us on what is happening out here. so that we have a chance, an opportunity to change how we are moving. Stop trying to hang with the Joneses. Stop trying to keep up with all the people that are bragging that they got all these women, they have all these dates, they have all this sex. Those people are going down, down, down. And those particular people that act like that are not going to bat an eye about sharing the festivities of HIV with you. You got to be the one to say, hell to the no. I got standards. I'm getting tested. Once I find out I'm HIV negative, I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to reset this clock in how I move and do it. Make people prove to you that they got tested by going with them. Share your test with them. Make it a requirement. Make it a requirement. You must do that now. So let's get to the first story. Fair use of this video. Shout out to Royalties Love. We're going to look at this. I hope that you guys would subscribe to her channel as well and keep up with people and keep looking and listening to these cases to get your mind on the right track of thinking. Let's go. Fair use of video.
Hi, my friends and tiaras. This is going to be me telling my story. Sorry. Okay. Take two. Hi, my friends and tiaras. So this is going to be me telling my story on how I contracted HIV. Okay, so I'm just going to say, before I get started, I got these nails from my nail tech. I'll have her information in the comments, and also where the lashes is the one is from. So I'm also going to be using a green screen to give y'all various locations and things that I do remember. So I ended up going over there after leaving. So I ended up meeting that guy on Jack, and
hold on.
To it. Okay, so it was morning time. I had just left a friend's house, and I was at a gas station, and I had this app called Jag, and I'm actually going to show y'all that app for a second. All right, and this is the app. This is the logo, just to let you guys know, but this is the app called Jag.
Again, people are getting on apps knowing their status, and they are purposely lying in wait for any unsuspecting individual to get in their grip. And I'm glad she's talking about it. I've never heard of this app, but she's showcasing what it is so that you guys could be wary of these apps. Let's go.
So I ended up meeting that guy on Jack, and first it was just all about and excuse me if I'm sounding a little chattery, it's really cold in here, but I don't want to miss this without. But I ended up meeting him on Jack, and he ended up messaging me, and he didn't have a ride to go cash his check. So I had a car, and he basically was letting me know that I'll give you some money if you come over here to help me cash my check. And you know what? I was like, I didn't really mind going over there. So I ended up going over there after leaving the gas station, and I ended up meeting him at this hotel, which is the Days Inn in Gardner, North Carolina.
The first flag to me is that this guy was not prepared. He didn't have a car. He didn't have his shit together. He was kind of like out there. I would not want to mess with a guy that does not have a car and have his own place, have his shit in order, being responsible as an adult. When you first meet them, they're needy. That's a red flag. I'm like, damn, you come to the app and you already need me before we even meet. I would not have dealt with a guy like that. But she decided to do that. But let's go.
I will be showing y'all that as well. So 1 second. And this day's end happens to be the location where everything happened. So I ended up meeting this guy at the hotel, and when I went upstairs,
And already no standards. Why the first time you meet someone, you go to a freaking hotel? You don't know this person. You don't know if he's suicidal or not, murderous rather. You don't know if he has HIV. You don't know if he's married. You don't know if he has a lot of kids. You don't know nothing. Why would you allow yourself to go to a hotel to meet somebody for the first time? You should meet at a coffee shop or at a park. Maybe go to the movies. Something fun, something light, so that you can fill them out and have conversation. You do not want to like put yourself in a predicament where you are going to have sex on the first freaking night. And he's already put it out there to invite you to the hotel, what y'all about to do. That is not smart. She should have known better.
he met me downstairs at first, kind of conversated for a little bit, and then we went upstairs to a room where it ended up being 2 more people in there. It was a guy and it was a girl. It was this real heavy set, kind of buff guy that later on in the story you will find out he's more so the bodyguard, and is also this girl who is a escort. So when I get in there, they basically kind of like introduced me to everyone. Well, he introduced me to everyone. And after that, we kind of sat down and started talking about what they did. And you kind of know what people do in hotels. Yeah, once we got down to the TT. So how you guys? So y'all wanted a part 2. So here's your...
So she's listening and talking to an escort, people that are looking to have sex. She should have known that that was not something, if she had standards, that she wanted to be a part of. She allowed herself to get comfortable in the setting. And I would not have wanted to be in that environment to begin with, because that is just that's the wrong thing to start off with. But that's what she did, because a lot of us don't have self-love. A lot of us are just trying to get validation from strangers, from people, and you sometimes put yourself in a predicament that you don't need to be in. She obviously did that. Let's go.
Part 2. So where we left off in the story, I was actually in the hotel, and then I ended up finding out it was 2 people. So I walk in the room, and this is where the tea gets spilled. So I end up finding out the girl, she is an escort. The heavyset guy, he is a bodyguard, and the guy that I am actually supposed to be taking the checks, taking to cash the checks, is actually an escort as well. So I'm gonna show y'all this sign just to, see if you guys know about it. But before I show y'all this sign, I just wanted to let you guys know this was the way that they were signed up to, do their escorting and do their business and stuff. And what really kind of gravitated it to me, and knowing that I was not a person that really had sex with just anybody, I was very picky. But the thing is that the girl ended up telling me a story one time that she ended up getting $60 off of like a pair of panties, off of dirty panties on top of that. So I was like, okay, well, shoot, let me see what it's about. This is what they need here. You can take off. But let me show y'all this. Okay, so for y'all that don't know what this sign is, this is Craigslist. So Craigslist was the way that they would make their money. They would make their ads to meet up with these people, to talk to these people, or whatever the case may be. Whatever went down, and that was their business. Yeah. So as we were in the room, it started to get, a little late, and, he started to tell me that he's not going to be able to cash this check, right? During this time where they're kind of explaining to me, like, what the Craigslist thing is, I'm sitting on his lap, and come to find out, him and that other girl, the other escort, ended up sleeping together, and they had relations back in the day, so I'm not quite sure if that's where the steam started to...
Again, she don't know this guy and she's sitting on his lap. Come on. Come on. She was really kind of, again, not having self-esteem or something like that, to where she just let a lot of things just, fly by her. And she should have been a different type of person in that situation. I understand you took him over there and you're meeting these people that are a part of this lifestyle. But my mind would have been percolating like, damn, how long you been doing this? That's kind of a dangerous type of occupation to be having. And you guys are sleeping with one another and you guys are inviting me to be a part of this. I would not have liked it at all. I would have probably cut the visit early, and I probably would have been like made up an excuse or something and left. But she didn't do that. She just got comfortable. Let's see what it takes us.
Flow firm, but one minute we were talking about Craigslist, doing setting stuff up. Next minute, they're at each other's throat, literally arguing, fussing. She ended up getting the room in her name, even though that he paid for it. So he ended up having to tell me, just come with me and I'll pay for the room. And I'm going to show y'all the lobby. So this is the lobby where we ended up having to go down there to, get another room due to the fact of him and her getting into an altercation. And we ended up actually getting a room on the other side of the building. And I will be trying to find that video for you guys because I actually want to show you guys that side of the building where I first entered and then where I stayed that night. Yes.
And I would have been thinking to myself, these people are out of their minds. They're toxic. They can't even be decent in front of me for the first time of meeting me. They're arguing. They're acting ghetto and all of that. I would not want no parts of that when you first walk into a situation and that's what you get. You said, lured her dumb ass with money. Exactly. She was just like, oh, okay. You got a check? All right. Yes, definitely nasty, Pinky. You said, I used to be one of those people, G says, who spray Lysol in door handles and desks when I found out certain people have AIDS and HIV. You have to be. You got to be. You never know. You also said that's terrible that man did that to that sister by infecting her with HIV. But it's more than just her. It's a slew of individuals that are just out here. And we just got to know that this is the era that we're living in. Let's continue.
All right, so we left off at me spending the night. So after we went downstairs, we got a new room, we ended up spending the night on the other side of the building. So I did not end up taking him to cash his check that day because it was too late. And when I ended up staying with him that night, yes, we did end up having intercourse. And from what I remember, we ended up having intercourse twice. One with the...
Again, why? Why? My God. He tells you he's an escort and you go have unprotected sex at a hotel. We got to be smarter than this. We got to not treat our life cheaply like she did. She was young and acting very immature and dumb. It's sad that she just threw her life away. It's really sad. Let's go.
One without a condom. And from that night, we had like our little conversations and stuff along the lines of that. And this is a monthly span of what I'm kind of giving you guys right now. The first monthly span of how everything went. So after this is all done and stuff, it's some days that go on and I'm actually experiencing what it's like being a escort after they had already basically gave me the rundown.
So she allowed herself to get pimped into becoming an escort? Oh my God. Wow, this is really sad. That she did not have no love for herself and she was willing to try to please new people that she just fucking met. She put herself in a very dangerous situation out the gate. Them being escorts would have been a red flag. Red flag.
This and that and what they do. And the bodyguard was actually on the other side of the building, still with that girl, which he ended up coming over and staying with us. So when I was basically in the hotel, I did, a couple of people. It was one person in particular that I did for him to stay in the hotel, and I can't remember how much it was. I don't even want to say it was $60 that I did it for, but it might have been. So I used protection with this guy. It was a very old, fat Mexican man. Literally, his thing was like probably like the size of my pinky. I really didn't feel nothing. So it's just like I did that for him. And these are, as the days are going by, I'm actually doing like little work from here and there because, like I said, I'm a very picky girl. I'm not just in the game to do anybody.
But she's not picky. Apparently not. That is not correct in her assertion of what happened. If you can just meet somebody off of an app and you are escorting yourself, that very moment in time that you meet strange people off the app, you cannot say that you're not easy. You cannot say that you're picky. It don't make no sense. She's lying to herself. She's lying to us. Let's go.
Nor did I have to do this. So, as the days go on and, we're just living our life, we end up getting to the point where he has to go. He goes on this little vacay with a friend that comes and picks him up at this hotel, knowing the bodyguard is still there. He ends up later down the line getting his friends to pick him up. And in between him getting his friends to pick him up in this monthly spend, we ended up having to go pick up his mother. His mother comes into the picture because as we're down there and as I'm down at the hotel, he ends up getting this call that his mother is being kicked out by his sister. That's where she comes into play. And then when we ended up having to go over there, it was an elderly lady who stuff was outside in the rain. So, like I said, so as I left off in part 3, we
just so much drama. Now the mama is come along. My God, that just sounds crazy to me. There ain't no way I would have allowed all that mess to be around me. But I really have worked on myself for many, many years. I worked on my standards. I worked on self-esteem. I worked on loving myself. I worked on not letting people get over and take advantage and use me and spit me out type of maneuvering. No, I won't allow any of that activity around me. But it takes time to get there. It takes time and effort and years of being celibate, years of abstaining from being at clubs and just being quick to be a part of a relationship. You got to abstain to be able to get this type of gumption about you, this strength about you. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you acquire over time. But you have got to take it serious with change. You got to take it serious about having standards, because if you don't, again, you're going to be in situations that do not even make sense, that are ridiculous, like she allowed herself to partake in. Let's go.
Having to go pick up his elderly mother. His elderly mother ended up being kicked out by his sister, and this was actually before he ended up leaving, going on his little vacay with his friend. So as we're picking up his mother, it's raining. One thing about it, it was real sad because this lady was a very old lady, and it seemed like they were so non-caring. I don't know what happened while she was getting kicked out, but I knew that she had got kicked out and all her stuff was outside. We had to do at least 2 to 3 trips. We ended up getting her into a hotel room, and I'm not quite sure if she stayed with us the first night, we ended up getting her hotel room that next day. I think we were able to get her into the room across from us because I do remember her staying there, but I really don't never remember her actually staying physically with us. So we ended up getting this room for her, and after he gets back from this vacay that he took with his friends, these days that I have been chilling with him and stuff, he had been acting normal. It wasn't no signs of drug use, anything along the lines of that. But at the time, just to let y'all know, I was safe because I was actually staying with the bodyguard. Because I don't want y'all to forget, the bodyguard was still there after he went on his little vacay. So the bodyguard was basically looking after me, but we slept in the same bed. And
they slept in the same bed as the bodyguard. Oh my God. Oh my life. I've never been this silly. I don't know nobody that I hang out with or really knew that was this freaking silly. This is sad.
Guard was trying to touch me and have intercourse with me. You get what I'm saying? And I wasn't going for that. I just had, you know, relations with your cousin, supposedly, and now you want to? No, I'm not getting down like that. I'm sorry. I guess that's what y'all do with over, but that's not me. So I ended up basically rejecting him, and then we get to the day where we left off. So he ends up coming back from his vacay. Remember, I said I didn't really see no signs of drug use or anything. But when I tell you, I ended up going into his mother's room where he was. He didn't even come into our room that morning. He ended up going to his mother's room. And when I tell you, I went over there and he was so strung out. He was literally saying that it was some guys downstairs that I didn't know, but he thought I was setting him up. He thought I was setting him up. He would be cussing at his mom. He had an attitude, like, and he was off something. Basically, like, he thought I knew, and he was accusing me of knowing everybody before I even got there, the bodyguard, the girl, everything. So this is part 5. And before we even get started, apparently I'm going to have to keep touching my screen because it wants to keep blacking out on me. But let's go ahead and start off where we left off. So basically, I ended up going to his mother's room because, remind you, he did not come back to our room. When I went to his room, he was strung out on drugs. And by his room, I mean his mother's room. So don't be trying to be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But I'm in his mother's room. So when I went in there, he basically was trying to accuse me of knowing these people. I did not know any of these people, and these people were downstairs, and I'm going to show you guys this area, but he also accused me of knowing the girl and the bodyguard even before I got there. I never even met none of these people. Never even met none of these people. I then met the bodyguard and the girl when I first met him, but those people downstairs, I had no clue about, so I knew that he was strung out with some drugs. Fast forward to later that night, he ended up basically calming down, stopped being so ignorant, and we ended up getting some Chinese food from what I remember. We also ended up having sex once again, and we did not use a condom. So basically, a couple of days go by after, you know, this little fiasco. A couple of days go by, and we know that we cannot afford to stay in 2 hotels. He's not making it like that. He knows I'm not going to just be doing anybody. So his plan was to find this girl that he knew of, and I guess they knew of each other, grew up with each other. I'm not quite sure on how they knew each other. I'm sure he told me, but that was so long ago. And we ended up finding the girl, and her name is Shine. So let me show y'all where he thought these people were, and then I'm going to show y'all where we ended up finding Shine. So this is basically where he thought these guys were that I knew. And this is where his mother stayed right here. And we kind of stayed diagonal from her place. So we knew we weren't going to be able to keep these two up. That's why he brought up Shine. Alright, you guys, so this is part 6. So basically we left off where we ended up finding Shine. And Shine ended up basically excuse her. But Shine ended up basically being on this deserted road. And this road is what I'm actually going to show y'all. I'm going to show y'all a picture of this road. So 1 second. All right, so this is the road we basically ended up finding her on. So when we ended up finding her on this road, we ended up asking her would she basically like to come with us. You know, it'll be a place to stay. She'll be able to work. You know, she'll be around us and everything along the lines of that. So, you know, she'll be comfortable. And, you know.
She linked up with toxic, very lost individuals. All of them. From the mama to the guy she slept with, to the bodyguard, to the other escort, and this new lady found on a road. I mean, like, oh my God, I am triggered by watching this. I really am triggered right now. Pinky says his mom is a madam. Sounds like it, because they all down for it, down for whatever. You said, where's her mother? She does not make mention. Apparently, she can't be too close to her family to be out there like that. It feels like, you know, she doesn't have nobody on her side, in her corner, to where she just took all these unnecessary risks, and it's going to end really bad. Pinky also says, and bitch, that's when you should have run and not look back. But why would I think you would after he dragged your ass that far in? It was a little bit too late. She was just too weak. Yeah, she was toxic herself before she met him. Definitely. She sounds like it. She sounds really, really silly and ghettofied. Let's go.
I didn't know that he was going to be so rude to her, which you guys will find out later on in the story. But he was very rude to this girl that basically did a lot for us. So not only did she do a lot for us, but she did a lot for his mom. So anyways, let's go ahead and start back off where we ended up finding Shine. Shine ends up coming with us. And she gets back to the hotel, you know, basically we end up talking to her, and later on the days go by and we end up having to go to another spot, which we ended up deciding to go to the Eco Lounge, which was right down the road from Daisy. So this was actually the side that we ended up staying on when we ended up going to the Eco Lounge. Remind you, you know, we had picked up Shine. You know, she done talk, we done mingled and everything. You know, these days have gone by and it's time to now move. And if it hadn't been days, definitely a couple of days, meaning like 1 or 2 in my opinion. But we ended up finding her and then ended up going here. And this is the side that we ended up staying on. Okay, so I'm going to tell y'all the reason why this hotel is important. So, you know, Shine was with us and she ended up getting this good play. And this was a hotel. And during this one particular play, he was not too happy about. But when I tell you this guy was giving money, he was a firefighter, man. He was giving her $500 to get down and busy. And I was in the room because, you know, that's just what she felt more comfortable with. We were no longer with the bodyguard. We were no longer with him. It was just me.
Dang, she just sounds like a happy participant now. Now she's bigging up the escorting. Huh. She's like, this woman got $500 and she clapped about it. Damn. What is going on with our people right now? Let's go.
Her, the mother, and him, which I even failed to mention, but that's the crazy part. You know, she was more so comfortable with me being in there. He was so mad, and he kept interrupting us as the time went by because, you know, it was taking a while. Okay, but yes, like I was saying, so this is part 7. But that's what I was saying. So basically, but he was giving some good money. So he was upset once again because he was not the Don Dada. He was not the person that was getting the money. So therefore, you know, whoever is getting the money, baby, we're in control of that. Baby, you're not our pimp or anything. But basically what happened was he kept coming to the door, he kept knocking, he kept interrupting, and the body fire guy would get upset, he would get irritated. And this is the area that him and his mother was waiting at outside. So when he would knock on the door, I ended up having to go out there due to the firefighter guy saying, like, you go out there, I'll give you some money, da-da-da-da. I'm not sure if he had already told me it was going to be that much or whatever the case may be, but he ended up giving me some money to basically get him away from the door. Because he kept interrupting the whole entire play, which was childish. But yeah, that's where they basically were sitting at when all this was going on. So I ended up getting $100 and not have to do anything with this man. I got $100 to keep this guy away from that door. Smooth 100, okay? You know, I felt like I was doing my best.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing, y'all. She is telling a story about catching HIV purposely, and she's glorifying the escort job. She's still acting like she's on a high of sorts. I don't get it. This is really sad that her mentality is warped, but this goes back to not having standards. This showcases not having worth, self-love, self-esteem, being aware of everything that you do before you do it. She just is an easy sheep that is led to the slaughter. It is unfortunate, but it's true. Let's go.
I ain't gonna lie. But, so, y'all also have to remember, these are some days that went by, but that was a night where we kind of ended up getting into it due to the fact of how long it was taking after the firefighter guy that had finally left. You know, they were able to enter the room, but it was a couple of plays that ended up going down. And, you know, we stayed there a couple of days, but we weren't there as long as we were at day's end from what I remember. And when we went to this other hotel, I can't remember Diamond actually being with us. And Diamond is Shine. But I can't remember Shine being with us. Like, I felt like, from my memory, she ended up, you know, gradually going her separate ways after some days had passed by. And me, him, and his mother ended up staying at one of these hotels. 1 second.
Where is her home? Why did she not feel the need to go home? I'm confused. She acts like she's homeless herself. Obviously, these people were all homeless. But I don't know her situation, but she stuck around. She put up with these people that were homeless, and she carried herself as they carried themselves. This is just really a crazy, crazy story. I really feel sorry for this lady. She really needs to go get therapy at this point, in my opinion. She's a lost cause. You said this is why moms need to keep their daughters close and help them get whatever they want. I don't give a F if people call mine spoiled. She is not the streets. I heard that. That's the way to think about your daughter. That's the way to think about your people. You're right about that. Let's go.
Anyway, so we ended up staying at one of these hotels right here. And one of these little rooms over here, but I can't remember her actually being with us, which was so crazy. But the thing about it was, if she was there, we didn't do anything here that's important, you know. So it was just like we stayed there from what I remember. Nothing happened. I just met a couple more people that he knew. So hi everyone, this is part 9, and I do apologize for all the parts. I know it gets tiring seeing all the parts, but I do not have the 10-minute option yet. Make sure that you go look it up for yourself. That everyone does not have that available right now. Also, let's go ahead and get back to the story, and I'll also let y'all know where I got these lashes from. Just look in the comments, and shout out to my baby Jewel by Mai. Anyway, so we left off at this fight. All right, so we were here last time that we were talking. So that's my apologies. I was a little confused if Shine was still with us or if she had left. But let's just say that this part right here was not really important, but I do remember meeting people there, people that he knew, and I was not there by myself. So that's what we're going to say about this part. I apologize that I probably mixed it up, but that's what happens in the, span of 2 months of staying with someone. So we ended up just meeting people here, and Shine had to be back at the hotel. Like, cause Shine never really went out with us like that in the first place. So after the incident with the fighter guy, we ended up moving to another location, and I will show y'all that other location. I believe it's called American Express, but you guys will see it. So I wasn't able to really get to the back of it on Google Maps or whatever the case may be. I wasn't really able to see and get to the back.
She acts like looking at the hotels is more important than her telling her damn story. She is one of the worst storytellers I have ever heard. This story is becoming very, very triggering and is very, very stressful, that she is not even acting like HIV is a big ordeal. I want to fast forward it, but if I do, I'm going to miss where she finally got sick and stuff like that. And I want to get to that part, but she's kind of, dragging the story out unnecessary. She's an escort. She allowed herself to get played and holed out on, just for meeting a strange dude off an app. She's allowed herself to become a hoe. She's allowed herself to be used and abused for money. She put herself out there, put her neck on the line, and she's about to get burnt. This is crazy.
Of the buildings and stuff along the lines of that, but I also do remember that room that we stayed in there because we were actually in a corner room. So, and it was at the far end of it. So this is when the altercation had happened. Shine ended up paying for a room. Remind you, this whole time that we've been just kind of going here and there, that we've been with Shine, the mother, and him. So we end up getting to the location. She pays for it, and we end up checking in. Once we check in, everything is going good so far, so good. And I done did videos, et cetera, et cetera. And then we get into a altercation. This altercation leads us to having to leave because we weren't going to stay there and take it. He was already treating her like crap and then treating the mother like crap for the past 2 months that I had been there and talking to them like they were just dogs. So then we ended up leaving, going to another motel, just me and Shine. We did not receive that money back because him or his mother did not want to give us the money back, nor did they probably have it. So we ended up leaving here due to the fact of us getting into the altercation, and they did not want to give us the money back. They ended up keeping it, and we ended up having to stay at a Rugged Down Hotel, and that's the name of this hotel right there. But it was terrible. So my apologies. This is actually part 9. Okay, so basically we ended up, like I said, we had to end up going. And the only reason why we couldn't necessarily kick them out was because the mother ended up paying for the room. The mother ended up paying for the room with her license and everything like that. So due to the fact of Shine, being an escort, and I'm not saying every escort doesn't have their thing, but she didn't really have any luggage even when we met her. So she didn't have much. And so we ended up having to go down to this Rugged motel. And I really remember this motel very vividly, like the room itself. So it's been 4 years. I'm not sure if they did any construction, but this motel in itself.
Why does it matter, lady? Why would it matter to us in this story? The most important thing is how and when you got HIV. She definitely is a lost cause right now. I'm happy that she has a platform to disclose her HIV, but she's kind of dingy to me. She's a dingbat to me. This is unfortunate that she is this low level thinking. I hope to God I never meet nobody like this. But this again goes back to having standards.
Looks very familiar, and that was where we stayed. We ended up staying at a rugged motel that was even similar to it, if not this motel. But it has been 4 years, construction goes on, but this is a update of 2022. So this is a motel that I remember, the rooms are very much similar to where we stayed, but we ended up staying there, and I ended up leaving the next day. When I was there and we ended up finally leaving them, I did end up getting messages from him basically telling me that he would come slash my tires and stuff. So, that night he never did. I ended up leaving, and, as I left, I went back home. I was living a normal life, et cetera, et cetera. And he ended up hitting me up due to the fact that that's not really speaking like that, anymore. And he was very upset. But it was this one message in particular, and back to the Jack app, because that was the only way that he could get in contact with me. I don't think that he had my number at the time still. So he ended up hitting me up on Jack. And this is when he revealed everything. So basically, I'm no longer staying with Shine. Shine has went about her way. I have went about my way, and they have went about their way. The 2 months are now done. They are up. I am now living back at my house, and I am contacted by this man that is angry, that is, very evil. Little did I know. And let's get to the Jack messages. So as time went by, we ended up messaging each other on Jack, and it was this message by his gay mother. He was messaging his gay mother, and he ended up mentioning something about him having HIV, and maybe that's why people didn't like him. And I was like, so hi, you guys, this is part 10, and this is probably the last part. So I know you guys are excited. Anyways, so basically, let's start off from the Jack messages. I ended up getting this Jack message from him, and like I said, little did I know, he was a evil, angry, conniving man. This message ended up basically saying, I don't know why people don't like me. Maybe it's because I'm HIV positive. Something along the lines of that. He was speaking to his gay mother. He ended up sending me a screenshot of it. And as I was like kind of, scratching my head, wondering like, what is he talking about HIV positive for? Because he never told me. He never came out and told me that he was positive. There was never not one time during us having intercourse that he told me.
Again, people are going to conceal that information on purpose. They're going to keep spreading it to the people that's not prepared, the people that are not concerned with their life. She was a good candidate to catch HIV because she had zero standards. That's my point. She should have not picked the guy up if he asked out the gate to go get his check cashed. A guy wants to link up with you and already needs you, already needy. That's not what you do when you first meet somebody. She broke all the laws of common sense to link up with a lame, to link up with a monster. And now she has to pay the price for the rest of her life with catching HIV when it could have been avoided by not having relations with him the first freaking night you meet him and not get turned out to become a hoe. All those things she did not need to do. She allowed herself to get played. I don't really have sympathy for her. I feel sorry for her for being this slow, for being this careless. Let's go.
It got to the point where we ended up getting into it. And I was like, I'll end up taking you to jail if I find out that you're the person who gave me HIV. If I end up going to this clinic and finding out that you're this person who gave it to me, And the reason why I said this person is because it was messages coming in like laughing. You're sick like me now. You're sick like Shine. Like, you know, somebody meaning to do it purposely. You know what I'm saying? His goal was...
So the whole group of people more than likely had HIV, and they were getting hooked up with so many other people through this escorting bullshit that they did, and spread the disease to the people that did not have a brain. And unfortunately, she is one of these types that does not have a brain, that did not think anything of herself, who allowed herself to be tricked and maneuvered and bitch slapped and turned into a hoe. I mean, I would feel bad if she, for instance, used a condom and the guy poked holes in it or something like that. That's not what happened. She casually laid down with this guy the first night, unprotected, and carried it forward with other acts of sex. How can you feel sorry for somebody that did this? I don't. I feel sorry for the ones that deal with her moving forward because she doesn't give a damn.
Ruin my life. And I was thinking it was all a blood. You know, knowing that I didn't want to be with him. I never wanted a real relationship or anything. But it wasn't. He was telling the truth. The first night that I ended up, you know, being free from them, like I was locked down. But, you know, the first month of actually, you know, living back at my house, I ended up going to the clinic after hearing about this. After he basically told me, he gave it to me and was laughing about it and stuff. Even though I thought it was a joke. So the first month, I ended up going and it came back negative. They wanted me to wait 3 months prior to that first month and do basically a 9-month.
And that is important to note. If you just go take a HIV test after having exposure, a lot of times it's not going to show up right away. So you have to be very careful with the people that even if you get them tested, you might have to do 2 tests. I think after the first test, you should wait another 6 months and take it again. And that's your real case. That's your real test to confirm whether or not you're HIV negative or not. So it didn't show up. So that shows you that it's not automatic. So even if you have standards and you tell somebody to get tested and they show you a negative, it doesn't mean that it's not ongoing and in their blood to have the HIV. It depends on when they caught it. So you have to be very, very careful and know these people before you allow yourself to be vulnerable and susceptible to trust. Let's go.
And so one time get checked 3 months, other time get checked 3 months, another time get checked 3 months. And if I came back clean all those months, I'm good. But this one particular month, they wanted me to wait. I was like, no, I'm not going to wait. I went back that second month, and it came up. So I ended up getting a call. I ended up getting a job. I was working at Subway. I ended up getting a call, and I knew if I had got a call from the clinic that something came back. Something came back. And I was just thinking, like, this mother... So, hi you guys, this is part 11, and hopefully this is the end. But make sure you guys ask questions if you're curious about anything, and I will be answering some questions as well. So, basically, I ended up getting a call from work. I'm not going to tap my phone again. But basically, I ended up getting a call from work, and I already knew if I had got a call, it was something. I ended up coming back positive. And, you know, me thinking everything was a joke. It wasn't that I was sad or anything. I was more so angry because this guy was happy about he didn't get to me. So I was angry. I ended up having to meet with someone I call my guardian angel. His name was Demetrius. I ended up having a meeting with him and basically let him know the partner that I had slept with and everything along the lines of that. This one person in particular had helped me out a lot. They even gave me the decision, which, I'm not sure if a lot of people get this decision, but to either tell people that I had been with, even if it was down to 2 years, so forth. Anyway, I can remember I would always try to make sure that I told them. But I ended up taking that choice and telling people, and I ended up contacting people and telling them that I was positive. I got good reactions, bad reactions, all of the above. And I ended up getting signed up to a hospital. And I will not get my hospital out, but yes, I helped the best doctor. They ended up helping me get on my meds as soon as possible. Also, they helped me with my transition, and I'm greatly appreciated. But one thing about it, I did contact him again, and it took a minute to actually get in contact with him because he did end up going to jail. But it wasn't for my reason, it was for something else. And I ended up finding out through Shine that he had to be beating on his baby mother. Yes. So supposedly he had a baby mama or beating on some girl. I've always said baby mama because that's what I remember. But yes, beating on some girl, and ended up having to go to jail. So after that, he ended up hitting me up. And, my response was, I'm positive, right? He tried to act like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. And you thought it was this is part 12. So basically where we left off is that he ended up contacting me after, he ended up getting out of jail because I couldn't contact him to suspect that him being in there. But he ended up contacting me and, thinking everything was a joke and basically thinking that I was lying about having it. And it's just like, how are you going to think that I'm lying about having it and you know that you were going to just tell me that you gave it to me a couple of months ago? That didn't really make sense. So I had broken him to let him know that I was going to be locking him up. I tried to do everything within my power to do what I could. I still even got the police report. And if you never did a warrant out for anyone's arrest, you have to know their actual location. Like the location that resides, like where they reside, that's on their license in order for you to take out papers on them. And I was not able to get that. I wasn't able to get that in time. He ended up being free before anything, and that was the way that I was able to contact him. And when I went to the police station, he was out. It was nothing. It was like I knew where he was. I even asked him, I know where he is right now. Can y'all do anything about that? And it was just like they still just had to know where he stayed, and I tried to explain everything to them, and it just didn't happen. But if you guys would like to see his face or see the guy, definitely let me know, and make sure that you do join my live. I hope you guys did enjoy the story. I know it's a little long.
She should have showed him with this damn video. I have never, ever lost 35 minutes of my life watching a woman that was so dingbacky, so dingy. I've never seen nothing so simple-minded before like this. It took away some of my life that I can't get back. But it's sad, though, because she's so young. And it's sad because she could have avoided all of this if she had in place something called standards, which a lot of us seem to lack these days. Yeah, she ain't going to do shit. You're right about that, Pinky. It's sad. Now, moving on, I'm going to showcase this lady who is a better storyteller, who also has HIV. I have showcased her, featured her one of my videos maybe 4 months ago or maybe longer than that. She's talking about the symptoms so that you would know what happens if you are exposed to the HIV. Also, if you might see some of these symptoms in people, like a rash that comes up on somebody that they don't know how they got it. I mean, it may not be HIV because you could get rashes from a lot of different things, but it could be HIV, or symptoms of flus and whatnot, and other symptoms of fatigue and weight loss and all of that. She's about to get into that real quick. And I know that many men and women would not bat an eye with seeing this type of woman right here. She's very attractive. She's mixed race. A lot of men would not turn her down, and women, but it goes to show you that anyone that looks good may not be good at all. It is up to you to protect yourself no matter how a person appears. It is up to you to think about your life first and not put your whole existence of living on the line with getting booty from women or men or anyone. But take a listen to what she discloses in her HIV symptoms.
I know it can be scary, but this is why I do what I do, because the thought of it is scary. The actuality of it is not. Honestly, the stigma is way worse than the actual disease. And thank God for that, honestly. I'm not going to lie to you guys. My symptoms from the acute stage, which is the stage that you show the most symptoms, you're most symptomatic during this time, they were the worst. I literally thought that I was going to... I made a whole YouTube video discussing my HIV symptoms in depth, so if you want to check it out, I'll link it. But basically, I went to the hospital 3 times because I literally was so unwell. I had fevers, cold sweat, rashes. I couldn't hold anything down. I lost about 20 pounds. All 3 times that I went to the hospital, they turned me away. And all 3 times that I went to the hospital, they never checked me for HIV. Because just like a lot of people in my comments, they probably thought that I didn't look like a person that had HIV. Girl, I know it can be scary, but this is why.
But she had HIV. Hold on. I thought she was going to give more insight on her symptoms. Let me go back to her real quick. Hold on. I had another video to show in case. But I took the other lady, since I didn't see the video, I wanted a reaction, and I'm kind of mad at myself for even showcasing the first video because that woman was just too slow. And she really didn't explain herself very well in a way to encourage you to test, encourage you to look out for yourself and be wary of people. She was too nonchalant, and she was glorifying an escorting activities. It's very, very unfortunate that she allowed herself to go there. This lady is Bianca Carolina. Bianca Carolina. All right, there she is. I'm gonna go to the part where she's really and she's lucky because she found love. She got married. She has a daughter. Obviously, the guy is accepting of her HIV status. And she's still living her best life. But many other people don't have happy songs to tell or stories to tell about after they get HIV. Hold on, let me see if I can find this short. Let me see, because she did outline all of it. Where'd it go? I'm not sure which video it is. Oh, man. She has a lot of videos, by the way. Please check her out. And I just love to watch these types of videos to reiterate to myself why I am celibate and happy about it. Why it's not worth being out here dating. Too many people are careless and reckless. and I want to stay HIV negative. And I don't think it's a big deal about dating as much, because people don't really care about how they're moving right now. And potentially you're putting yourself in danger with these people that are not testing themselves or know that they have HIV, and they're sleeping with you on purpose, itching to give it to you. All right, this right here is the symptoms, the HIV/AIDS symptoms, stages, and early warning signs. She's about to break it down, and I hope that you guys would heed her warnings, because you could find a lot of people that look healthy and they'd be walking around with the HIV.
I don't look like I have HIV. How can you tell when a person looks like they have HIV? If you're looking at me now and you don't think that I look like I have HIV. Y'all said y'all wanted the tea, so I'm going to give you the tea. A lot of the symptoms that I experienced while I was going through the acute stage of HIV are symptoms, with the exception, but most of them are symptoms that people experience when they're battling a cold or like the flu or COVID. There are a few overlaps. That doesn't mean that you have HIV. And I will add on that a lot of people are asymptomatic. A lot of people don't experience the same symptoms that I did. And that does not mean that they don't have HIV. If you feel like you have been exposed to HIV, go get tested. What were my symptoms during the acute stage of HIV? And the acute stage just basically means when the infection first enters the body. I experienced a slew of symptoms, starting with extreme fatigue. I had the worst fatigue I've ever experienced in my life. I don't even think me pushing out a baby was as tiresome. I had to nap multiple times a day. I experienced fevers like every single day. My acute stage lasted, I think, about 3 to 4 weeks, although it felt like an eternity. At one point, I was just like, God, am I really gonna die? Is this the way that I go out? I didn't realize how serious fatigue is. So when I experienced the fever, I went straight to the hospital. I don't play about those fevers. And they basically sent me home because they tested me for everything except HIV. So they tested me for chlamydia, gonorrhea, all the STDs, and they tested me for strep and for the flu. I took so many freaking pregnancy tests and not one HIV test. When people leave me comments like, oh, she doesn't look like she's HIV positive. She doesn't look like she has HIV. I don't? Don't I though? Don't I look like I have HIV? I mean, what does HIV actually look like? I think you guys were expecting me to look like 50 Cent did in that one movie. I did, however, lose a lot of weight during that time. I lost about 15 to 20 pounds. I was trying to gain weight. That was during the time that I was trying to get like fit thick, slim thick. I literally look like skin and bones. Okay, so HIV has this personality of its own, because like when you have like the flu or when you have a cold, like you're consistently feeling like bad. But with HIV, or with the acute stage at least, I would wake up some days and feel like I was on top of the world. Like finally, no fever, finally, no nausea, finally, no diarrhea. Excuse me. There was one day specifically that I remember that I woke up with virtually no symptoms, I thought. And I went to go take a shower and I start like scrubbing my hand and my arm, and I looked down and I had red dots everywhere. Little tiny red dots everywhere. I literally started Googling symptoms of chickenpox. At least I know that I was trying to fight off chickenpox. No, there was no itchiness. If you were to touch my skin, you wouldn't feel bumps. There was nothing there except the red dots. And I had red dots all over my arms and all over my legs and maybe in my back, but I couldn't tell. I also began to experience cold sweats in the middle of the day, mixed with the fever. So I was like burning up and freezing at the same time. Like that's when I was really at my wit's end. asking for an answer. Like at this point, I didn't care what I was diagnosed with. I just wanted to know what was going to make this stop. The doctors sending me home, that even with antibiotics, was terrifying. And they're like, we can't give you antibiotics. You're not fighting a bacterial infection. You're fighting a viral infection. Eventually, all of the symptoms subsided. One thing that persisted continuously after was, number one, the weight loss, number two, thrush. So if you don't know what thrush is, it is basically a continual yeast infection. Oh my God, it was so uncomfortable. It was so painful to have. Because I was still with the guy who infected me. It's crazy because I told him that I didn't want to see him. I don't want to get you sick. I don't know what I have. Like, don't worry. You can't give me anything. Yeah, he was definitely right about that. So that is actually what compels me to go to the clinic. Because I'm like, the doctors are sending me home. The BP medication is not working. And I went to the clinic because of the yeast infection. And that is when they said, Bianca, can you please come with me to the room? And I was like, and they sat me down and they were like, your test came back positive for HIV. And I'm not gonna lie, a part of me was just so glad that there was an answer to everything that I had gone through. I'm not necessarily sure if this is...
Wow. So the guy, after she says that she's very sick, I don't want to give it to you, that gave her the HIV, was like, oh, you can't give me nothing. And that's just so wicked. He knew he had HIV. So I'm going to show one more video. And this video has this YouTuber by the name of 200 Acres Reacts. He has a slew of videos on HIV. Please go check out his videos. The reason why I'm picking this video of him is because this lady asked the dude to get tested, and she recorded his response. He knew he had HIV, and his response was like crazy. So I want to go through this video, but in my opinion, to weed out the people that may have it, you have got to broach them about the HIV test. Tell them that's the only way that we're going to have relations. If you don't do that, you can't touch me in that way. And you can get a reaction from how these people are not wanting to get tested. That should be a very big red flag. If they say no, if they make up excuses, if they say you can trust me, I don't have nothing, all these things, and they are adamant about not being tested, that should tell you to run. Because anyone that love themselves and have decency about themselves and have standards about themselves would not mind getting tested. I know my ex-girlfriend told me I had to get tested. It was the hardest thing for me to do, but I did it. And like 3-4 months ago, I was retested. Again, I had fear of the unknown because it's been like over 10 years since I was tested the last time. And I was so relieved after getting my results back and everything came back negative. And I was just like saying to myself, thank God that I chose to live a celibate life in the last 7 years. I protected myself. I loved myself. And everything is looking better now. But you cannot get that feeling if you do not go get tested and also live a partial celibate life to get an understanding of your status and also reset how you're going to behave out in the world, because people would love to keep you hoish, a thought, loose, and you have to decide how you're going to stop being that way. I had a problem with being lustful for women for many years. In my 30s, I was living very reckless, and that's why another reason why I was kind of scared of taking the test. Even though I didn't have no symptoms or nothing, I do know that some people could have HIV and not show any symptom. It really depends on you as an individual, how your genes are and how your immune system is and whatnot. It probably has something to do with the type of strand of HIV that may or may not show up in your blood fast enough and whatnot. But this last story I'm going to show, this lady is saying outright that this boyfriend of hers purposely tried to give her HIV. Take a listen to this. Fair use.
Get it. Y'all check this out.
If you're dealing with somebody, male, female, whatever, and you ask them to go get tested, and this is their response. Take the test. Why are you worried about my results? Erica, just tell me the truth. I already know. I already know.
So how do you know? So what makes you?
Come on, you're not. When I say that I am aware of everything and I see everything, you think I'm dumb. I'm not.
So where's the results?
Take the test.
Where's the results?
My results don't matter.
They do matter.
Yours do. Take them.
You don't have any.
It doesn't matter. Take yours. They shut me up. Just know that they're hiding something, and it's probably something that they can't get rid of. So that was just a video recording of me and my ex going back and forth after I asked him to take an at-home HIV testing kit. He was refusing to do so, and obviously I figured
And what you can do is go get that kit prior to talking about sex and handing it over to get the response of the person in front of you on whether or not they're going to take that test before you call yourself laying down with them. That's what you can do. She waited a little bit too late because she was already having relations with the guy. She should have had standards and said, hey, we're getting a little bit closer now. I want to go ahead and get tested, both of us, with this kit here, and see how they squirm or scatter. If they squirm and scatter, you do not want to fuck with them. Simple as that. If they avoid taking the test altogether and get out of Dodge right away, you need to run. But we do not make people get tested. And I'm trying to encourage you guys to go ahead and force that situation onto the people that you're calling yourself wanting to get to know. You have got to be the person in the driver's seat about your life. And there are kits that are out there, probably $50, and they can show the results within your home comfortably. If you do not want to go to a clinic or whatever for privacy reasons, still get that kit and demand for these people to show and prove. It's worth it. $50 is worth it. Let's go.
Video recording of me and my ex going back and forth after I asked him to take an at-home HIV testing kit. He was refusing to do so, and obviously I figured out why. So the whole time that I was with this man, he acted as if he was sick with cancer, but instead it was actually HIV. You start normalizing going to get tested together, reviewing results together, because people can lie and hide things for a long time. So just protect yourself, because there's people out here that don't care, that aren't happy with themselves, and they don't care what happens to them, so they're not going to care about what happens to you. So I have like a quick update for y'all. Let me back up a little bit though. So mind y'all, I said that this incident is only part of what I went through with this man. Okay, this man is a pathological liar. He lies unprovoked. He makes up these elaborate stories for what I have I don't know. But anyways, throughout our relationship, anytime that I got ready to leave, he would come up with these elaborate stories. He would say, "Oh, the doctor just called me
before you, I just got the phone with the doctor, and he said that the cancer spread to my liver. He said, the doctor said that I only have 3 months to live. The doctor said it could be any day now. And I believed him with my slow self. I believed him. And so yeah, he has a history of doing this. And then also his sister and another woman has, basically affirmed that, hey, he does stuff like this because this is what he does. So anyways, I get off the phone with the prosecutor not even an hour ago. And I was just trying to get an update and see if she is still offering him, what she told me she was going to offer him, which was 8 years in prison. And once he gets out, he'll be required to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. And she let me know that she does not intend on lowering her offer in order for him to plead. He's either going to accept it or go to trial. Last month was supposed to be his last pretrial. However, his lawyer asked for a continuance, and so next Tuesday is his last court date. So either he'll accept the offer.
Jen, we are so excited to show you the commercial we made for LiLaV. Ready?
Ready? For continuance, and so next Tuesday is his last court date. So either he'll accept the offer or he has to go to trial. Now, she did let me know that she got an update from his lawyer recently, and the lawyer is saying that he is claiming that he is dying. We both cackled. We cackled for about 3 minutes straight. She doesn't believe him. Of course, I don't believe him. I have a reason not to believe him. And so she's basically like, come Tuesday, he has to bring some type of proof or diagnosis from the doctor.
Yes. See, y'all see that? See, she probably don't know, but that's the grace of...
Man, oh man, oh man. To go through something like that, that's one of my greatest fears, y'all. I have always been spooky about HIV. I have always taken breaks after relationships just because I see a lot of people that would be in a relationship and then while they're breaking up, they're hooked up with another person before that relationship is even over. And I did not want to be that type of person that was so needy and thirsty like that. I trained myself in the last 7 years to change the way that I was and how I was moving and how I perceived people. And they got to do a lot of proving to me at this point. I will not ever go back to just accepting whatever someone gives me and lowering my standards just because someone looks good. Accepting them because, I probably won't get an opportunity ever again to get someone that's that fine. That's where my mind was in my 30s. And I'm so glad I broke the curse of that. Now it's all about results. It's all about showcasing what you got. And if you can't and won't, bye. You said I wouldn't want someone new in my life sick with anything. Exactly. Because you don't know if they want to turn around and slip something in your drink, do something to you while you slept, put something on your toothbrush. You never know. People are very vindictive out here. And they are definitely trying to make other people suffer like they're suffering. You said he can pass in prison. Yeah, he probably can. And you know what's so funny is like whenever you have HIV in the title, most people won't even come to the strain. It is really a sad phenomenon that people really don't care to talk about HIV. But it is so widespread. It is all over the place. And it is so sad that our culture, that the world at large is accepting of just little of themselves, and they're allowing other people to get over on them, all because of trying to hang out with the Joneses and be accepted in cliques. I've never been the cliquish type of person. I'm so glad that I've never been a follower. I've always been my own leader and only trusted what I could prove for the most part. And I'm so grateful that I've changed my way of thinking. And I'm hopeful that people that are listening out here would take a little page out of my book and just for your own peace of mind, go confirm what you can about your status and get on top of what you need to do to protect yourself. It does not make sense nowadays with all the information out there and all the different ways to avoid getting HIV that people are not utilizing that. I know there's a drug called PrEP that people are talking about now, where you can take it as a preventative from catching HIV. So they claim that taking it in advance will keep you free and clear of HIV. I really don't know how it works. That's what they're saying. And of course, you can use condoms and diaphragms and other things to minimize getting sick. Lucky for me, living the lifestyle with women, it's the least able to catch HIV. We're like the last on the list, thank the Lord. But even still, I was concerned because women that I had dated, a couple of them were cheaters. A couple of them messed around with women and men. And when I found that out, I just stopped dating a lot of different types of women. And I just realized that it was just too ratchet in the dating scene. I didn't want no parts. I don't miss having sex at all. I love having peace of mind. I love knowing that I'm okay. I do not like sleeping with someone and having second thoughts about that night and thinking about HIV after the fact. There's no way I'm going to be playing behind the ball moving forward. If ever I meet somebody that is interesting enough to catch my attention and we have conversations and they bring up sex, I'm not bringing it up. The first thing I'm going to say is, when's the last time you've been tested? And if they make up, oh, just recent, I'm going to say, can you show me their paperwork? And if they can't show me the paperwork, you caught them in a lie. If they say that they don't want to get tested because we ain't that deep, they got to go. They can't even be my friend. That's how serious I am about my life today. But I remember when I was not on that, and I was more accepting of people that would make up excuses, not realizing at the time that I was putting myself in harm's way by accepting their made up shit as they threw stuff up against the wall and hoping that it stuck. But it was because I was not willing to go get tested until someone, tugged me and told me to go get tested. Now I realize how important it is to force that onto people that are trying to force you to have sexual relations with them, especially if they're real quick about it. If you just met them and the first thing they're talking about is having sexual relations, I would be very, very skeptical and very, very concerned about what do they got, because they are essentially running into burning buildings with having that type of mentality. And so many people in our community and in America overall, with everything being overly sexualized, and you got the Sexy Red, who allegedly is handing out herpes. You got other rappers and other people that have been accused of having herpes or HIV and other things like that. It is really, really sad that so many young people have ruined their lives by trying to measure up to other people's vision of how you need to be. And all you had to do is just cut off that type of way of thinking and just cold turkey stop and go get yourself checked and then work on yourself as far as how you move. It is a conscious decision that we should all endeavor to do to improve upon.
It's just not funny, but man, y'all check this out.
I found out I was HIV positive after.
Look at her face, y'all. This was one of the symptoms that appeared with this young lady right here. with her face breaking out like that, that was a sign that she had HIV. I think that there is a video that I was gonna talk on with a doctor. Let me see if I can find it. It talked about your symptoms and whatnot, and the types of rashes and skin conditions that you can have. Let me see. But anyways, it's up to y'all to just get tested first, and then you can be the lead or leader in the conversation about taking the test to the person that wants you to have sex with them. If they're so eager to jump on your bones, they should be just as eager to prove that they are HIV negative. And if they don't and won't, God is trying to tell you something. Don't compromise your health and your future by allowing them to get away with having standards if you are endeavoring to have standards. You cannot let somebody with a pretty smile or face change your way of thinking when it comes to HIV, because it doesn't matter how you look. Everything that glitter is not gold. And so many people are out here purposely trying to do damage on others with infection of HIV. Now, here is a doctor who is explaining different skin conditions associated with HIV. For instance, if you're dating somebody who's getting hot and heavy because you guys been talking for a while, you might want to maybe suggest giving them a body massage without having sex. If you can do that, I would suggest you do that. And check out their body, see if there's any rashes and whatnot. You know, look them over, in addition to keeping it to the minimum of just massage and conversation and hanging out in safe places, not hotels, for God's sake. You know, I don't know how you would go about doing that. That might be a little bit too hard to do because some people might not have the temperament to say no once you're being massaged on and whatnot. I don't know. But anything to look them over if you can do that. Anything to get them to talk about HIV, to get their reaction and see if they're sweating, if they're going to have a sweat fest after you ask them about HIV, after you talk to them about when the last time they've been tested. Get their reaction and see if they say, I ain't been tested for 10, 15 years. It's up to you to say, oh, before I have sex, because I know my status, I gotta require you to get HIV tested. And if you can't, I understand, but we can't have sex. But check out these symptoms from a doctor, and then we'll conclude this live. I hope that you guys would support by hitting the like button. I understand this is not a sexy conversation, but it's a needed conversation. These things are happening everywhere. People are getting HIV every day. Even while I talk to y'all, someone's having sex right now, catching HIV. Or maybe they just found out they caught HIV today. People are changing their life through choices that they make that they can't take back.
Hi, welcome back to Dr. Donovan Medicine Made Easy. In today's video, we're going to be covering an in-depth coverage of skin conditions that are associated with HIV. This video is going to include lots of clinical photographs because I think this is the best way to learn about this topic. In the video, we're going to start off by covering a definition of HIV. This is going to be a brief outline. We'll then cover why recognition of skin disease is important in HIV, and then we'll move on in the third section of the video to cover the main focus, which is outlining some of the common and important types of skin disease affecting patients with HIV or AIDS. This is not going to be an exhaustive coverage, but I've included lots of helpful links in the description box of this video which contain further details. So if you're interested in this and wish to do some further reading, please check those out. So first of all, what is HIV? Well, in a nutshell, HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. HIV is a retrovirus infection, and that causes an acquired immunodeficiency of the host via reduction in the number of CD4 T cells. This means that the body finds it much more difficult to fight off infections. And you'll see later on in this video why this is important, because this can manifest in skin disease. Without appropriate treatment, a person with HIV can eventually progress to the advanced stage of infection, which is called acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is commonly referred to by its abbreviation AIDS. So who gets skin disease in HIV, and why is this an important topic to be aware of? So the first thing to mention is that skin conditions are very common in HIV, and around 90% of patients who are infected by HIV will develop some sort of skin condition. And there's an enormous range of skin conditions associated with HIV, and these generally increase in incidence with advancing HIV disease and declining immune function. Importantly, skin conditions can be some of the first signs of HIV infection. So if you're a doctor or a healthcare professional and you suspect HIV based on a skin condition of your patient, it will be important to consent and test them for HIV, because this could allow it to be detected earlier and ultimately for treatment to be commenced earlier, which will hopefully lead to better outcomes for the patient. So let's move on to the main part of this video now, which is what types of skin disease are associated with HIV. Broadly, it's good to take a systematic approach when thinking about the different types of skin disease. So we can start off by breaking it down into infectious causes on the one hand and non-infectious causes on the other. When we're thinking about infectious causes, we can further subdivide this down into fungal, bacterial, viral, and parasitic. So let's start off by first of all looking at some of the fungal issues that could be associated with HIV infection. So there's a range of fungal infections that occur at different degrees of immunocompromise in HIV. These include tinea, which is commonly known as a ringworm, and that can affect any area of the body, and you can see a photo on screen here. A patient may also have onychomycosis, which is a fungal infection of the nails, and they can also have candidal infections, commonly known as thrush infections. This can affect the mouth, or if in more severe cases, can go and spread down to the esophagus. So these conditions or fungal infections may also be associated with other conditions, but in HIV, they may typically be more aggressive, they may not respond to typical treatment, and also they can be atypical in nature. So if you have a patient who's come in, for example, with recurrent candida that doesn't seem to be responding to your typical forms of treatment, maybe in the back of the mind think about, could this patient have HIV and do they need testing for it? So a patient may also have pityrosporum folliculitis, and that causes an acne-like inflammation around the hair follicle. They may also have something called pityriasis versicolor, and that causes hyper or hypopigmented lesions over the skin, as you can see here. Something called seborrheic dermatitis is also associated with HIV, and it's important to be aware of this. So the next infectious skin issue associated with HIV are bacterial infections. These can include things such as Staph aureus, which leads to folliculitis, impetigo, or abscesses. They can also develop mycobacterial infections, or syphilis. Ulcers increase HIV transmission. There's also viral associations. These include recurrent or chronic herpes zoster, hyperkeratotic and proliferative viral warts, importantly something called oral hairy leukoplakia, and you can see that on screen here. The person may also have persistent ulcerated herpes simplex, molluscum contagiosum, as you can see on screen here, cytomegalovirus infection, and also the patient can be affected by things like Norwegian scabies or Demodex folliculitis. So now we've covered some of the infectious skin associations, let's move on and look at the non-infectious subgroup of skin issues associated with HIV, which include cancerous skin lesions. So first of all, the most important one or common one that you may think of is something called Kaposi sarcoma. So prior to widespread treatment with HAART, the AIDS-defining Kaposi sarcoma was the most prevalent malignancy in the HIV population. And that's caused usually by infection with human herpes virus 8. A Kaposi's sarcoma typically presents with a painless red-purple lesion, and it can affect any part of the body. And it's strongly associated with a declining CD4 count. There's also a twofold increase of developing squamous cell cancer and basal cell cancers in people with HIV compared to the general population. Cutaneous T and B cell lymphomas are also more prevalent with HIV infection, and also things like aggressive melanomas. Finally, people with HIV can develop something called lipodystrophy, as you can see on screen here. So I hope you found the video useful and informative. If you did, please leave a comment in the comment section beneath this video. And as always, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already for new videos which are released every Wednesday and every Sunday. There are lots more useful links in the description box of this video.
So again, skin is a big part of symptoms when people first get HIV. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. Pinky suggests that you go to the spa and look. That's a good idea. I just think that if the person is not open to talk about HIV and about testing and whatnot, it very well could be a red flag that they could have something already. And we have to just be tactful in how we handle people right now because of the habit, apparently, of people just handing out HIV because they don't want to have it alone. And they are, purposely, carelessly not caring about you and your life and your future because they felt like mine was stripped from me. F it. I don't care what I do and how I hurt people, harm people, because I've been harmed. And we got to be mindful that this is the fuckery that's going on. Like I said, passport bros are being afflicted with HIV. There's like 80,000 cases, I believe, in the DR that people have been talking about these passport bros coming back with HIV. Of course, the group that I hate the most is the down low dudes that are carrying on like they're straight, pretending to be with women as a beard, having sexual relations, even making kids with women just to hide their true sexuality. And they're infecting many women unbeknownst to them because of the lie that they're spinning in their lifestyle. But they are laying around with trans women, with other men, and bringing that shit back to women. And I really feel bad for women that have to get caught up with HIV when they were calling themselves being with a manly man that wasn't manly at all. Of course, a high risk is gay man to man because of the rectal sex that goes on. And of course, if you are messing around with transgender, they still are acting like men because they are. And a lot of those men have multiple partners. They go through many different men. I remember being in the lifestyle and seeing so many men hook up with different men. It was scary to see. And I knew that that was not going to be a good end. And it wasn't. We as women cannot give our rights away to men. A lot of men like to throw in your face, you need to let men lead and you need to be submitted to men and all that type of stupid talk. It only applies if you are married, and even then, that man has to be accountable and responsible and mature and hold himself at a high standard for you as a woman to ever submit to him if you are married. If you are not married, there is no submission or submitting I would ever recommend you do. Because again, to submit to men is to give up your life and your choice. And that's what a lot of men like to angle to women to do, so that they can have the upper hand. Why give an upper hand to a random man that don't mean you no good? You should be in charge of your own life and destiny by having standards and requirements of what men have to prove to you in times that pass along the way, to prove to you different things before you elevate to having sexual relations. And even after you do get tested and it hopefully comes back negative, you still don't know if that person would cheat on you after the fact. That's why you have to have in play that it's a regular, continual situation that y'all continue to go get tested at least once a year to make sure that everything is still on the up and up. And even then, I would still suggest that you try your best to use condoms as best as you can to avoid having pregnancies, and avoid getting STDs, HIV, herpes, and all that. Of course, you still can catch stuff with condoms, but it's a little bit better and harder to contract, different diseases. We just have to do a total change in our approach with dating. Dating never meant just casual sex, but it's turned to that. I remember how, it used to be by watching different videos of how people have morality, people had standards, people didn't want to be gossiped on. They didn't want to be looked at in a bad light. A lot of shame for having babies out of wedlock is no more. People are not shamed with getting pregnant no more. People are not shamed with catching HIV and spreading it. People are just out here willy-nilly doing as best they can to run through different people all the time. It's the culture. It is the sexualization of our society. And it's really high time that somebody somewhere out there decides to stop. And all you have to do is cold turkey stop and go get tested, and then stop having sex, and then getting in place your standards and your rules and your requirements. And if they don't like it and they think it's too hard and they think you're tripping, then, basically they're letting you know that they don't care nothing about you like that. It's up to us to decide to stop the spread of HIV. And like I said, every 4 months, I'm going to come back with more videos to show how HIV is still wrecking our society. It's not just in America, it's all over the globe. And the reason why it's spreading is because people are not requiring anyone to prove anything. That is the issue that I feel is going on. And because people don't care about you, they're not going to care about me or anyone else, because they don't care about themselves anymore. And misery loves company, apparently. You said there's no way to handle people who don't want to have that conversation, just walk away. Exactly. People have always been like this. It's just that there's no shaming of them anymore. Yeah, it's really sad. I'm going to come back with another video talking about it, maybe a little segment on Sunday, because there's other videos to show. I'm really mad at myself for starting off the video with that one video with the first person, because I thought she would be a better conversationalist than what she was. She ended up being a disaster and ultimately showcased herself as being a chicken head. She didn't have no standards. That's the story I want, the moral of the story I want y'all to get from the first person. They didn't have no standards. That's the difference between her and me. Somebody like me, Nobody's getting through. No woman, no man, no nothing. Until I see something and I can trust and I can let my guards down, which would take a lot of time. And most people just don't have that time that they're going to be willing to give. But I'm okay because I'm safe and that's all I give a damn about. So anyways, with that being said, I hope that you guys would share the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I know that it's not the type of conversation that people like to listen to. But again, it might have saved somebody from making a mistake moving forward. Steer clear of those apps. Steer clear of going to, swinger bars and all these different clubs, because a lot of these people that are infected are there waiting to meet you, literally. And they're waiting to cause havoc to your life. And if you have in place these standards that I'm talking about, and questions and different requirements that you should instill, they will not be able to fuck with you like that. Because before they can, they're going to be frustrated or made to look like they're fools, because they're not going to want to show nothing. And they're just going to go away and you're going to be safe. It's better safe than sorry. That's all I got to say. Good night, Pinky, and everybody watching. Please like and share the video and bless up. I'll be back Sunday earlier, and we'll have a little conversation about Pan-Africanism as well. I might just show one story about HIV towards the end, but we're going to have other conversations on Sunday. So please return, please like and share the video, and bless up. You said go to the clubs, just don't let anyone touch you. Exactly. I'm not going to the clubs. I'm not risking nothing. Good night, everybody. Bless up.